Hello everyone, I'm Rupam, founder and CEO of Aculi Labs Private Limited Bangalore and author of the book Intimacy Lost for Men, The Birth of the Lugal. And in today's episode, we are going to discuss and learn about knowledge. Knowledge is one of the foundations of humanity that has taken us so far till here. And therefore, knowledge is one of the fundamental principles, one of the key aspects of human life that drives the human race. But before we start, I just want to share a very good news with you. Yesterday, we received the first copy of the Intimacy Loss book. I received my first copy. Some of the readers already received the copy, and so when you put a lot of your life's decades work into a book, you tend to feel good. So yeah, with sharing this happiness, with sharing this real emotion, I want to start this class. And in today's class, we are going to learn firstly why knowledge is required, that is to start with, and then we are going to learn how knowledge plays a role in the human relationships, particularly between the relationship between a man and a girl. Also, at the same time, we are going to learn the difference between data, information, knowledge, virtue, wisdom, learning, training, teaching, and so many other aspects. And of course, as with the modern time, most of the things have been diluted so that the overall understanding, the key understanding of the fields that were meant to be there, have been lowered so that a lot of people who were at the ground or bottom of the pyramid can feel good about themselves, and they have smaller things to cover in life. For example, Einstein, even till the end of his age, could not proclaim that he was a scientist. Einstein always maintained that his life was dedicated to science. He declared himself as a slave of science. However, in the modern day, we have people doing 7 days or 24 hours course and declaring themselves as data scientists. Life doesn't change if you change the narration. You have to learn whether your narration is a good narration or whether it is taking you down. So let's get started. We already now know the difference between the masculinity and the femininity. That the man has a very strong executive center, the prefrontal cortex, which is not given, which a man has to turn on, and a female is more or less driven by neocortex and the midbrain. Even if the female grows their knowledge and grows their overall understanding of the world, even if they unlock more the prefrontal cortex, their consciousness lies in the neocortex, which means that their consciousness is physicality driven, and more or less it also is connected with the right brain, which means that their consciousness is physicality driven and as well as it is imagination driven. However, the male consciousness lies in the prefrontal cortex, and therefore a man can unlock the knowledge and leverage the power of superconsciousness, which connects him to the God. He understands what is God. He comes to experience God. He knows what is God. Now also here, you can't believe in God. You have to either experience God or you don't experience God. So the right question to anyone is not whether you believe in God or not. Can you define God? Can you experience God? And so, in order to experience God, a man has to go through all the processes of unlocking his superconsciousness, and then he starts experiencing the God. One just cannot believe in the God, then there is no connection with the soul. Females, on the other hand, we know that as far as the brain is concerned, their decisions are around the neocortex and the central brain. Also, we already know that a man's decision is around reward centricity. So a man goes for something when there is a reward. On the other hand, the female decision's brain is punishment averse, risk averse, which means that a female is more likely to take a decision which is less risky, and men are more likely to take decisions that are more beneficial. So these are key difference, fundamental difference in the brain of the man and the woman. So of course, because the woman, the girl, irrespective of how much she grows in life, how much victory she achieves in life, she cannot take it to her prefrontal cortex. And we already have discussed the dynamics between a male coach and a female student as sportsman. That even when the female reaches at the pinnacle of her career, she in fact starts losing that connection with her coach, the very connection that brought her up to there. What she doesn't understand at that stage is there is no such thing called skill. In today's class we'll know that there is a power dynamics that inside her brain she has grown her coach. She has made her coach like a god, and then she has submitted to the god, and that's how she has reached to the top. And as a female athlete, female sportsman, female prodigy starts going towards the top, she starts losing this connection with her mentor, with her coach, with that God figure to whom she internally submits and grows in life. So there is a grows in life. So I'll come to a few of the stories now. Because of this, it becomes a paramount responsibility for the man to take the accountability of the human race of the future. Please understand, we are not living at a time where we are suffering by overpopulation of this planet. We are suffering with underpopulation of the planet. The human population is going to go down very fast over the next 100 years, and the race may get extinct. 98% of the life form of different species that ever existed on the planet Earth have all got vanished from the face of the earth. Let me repeat, 98% of all the species ever existed on the planet Earth have all got extinct. And the very fact that humanity is not yet extinct is in itself is a miracle. The fact that humanity will not extinct is not miracle. That's if humanity doesn't exist, completely goes off, if humans die, if the human race ends, then that's normal. If human race doesn't get evaporated from the face of the earth, and if it survives, then that's a miracle. The survival of the human race is a miracle. It's one of the very rare, those 2% of the species who are surviving. So planet Earth doesn't harness life. Understand, planet Earth doesn't harness life. Life is miracle. Life itself is a miracle. It's absurd. It's not something that should exist, but it still exists. And therefore, it is very, very important for men to understand why they exist. What is their accountability? Why Mother Nature has invested over $300,000 of free oxygen, water included, that comes to about $2 to $5 million, depending upon which country and which part of the geography you live in. So there, you born and you live with about $2 million, and the nature has not given you any contract. Nature has not taken any equity out of you. So you are already born with 2 million worth of market value, and therefore you have a responsibility and accountability. So because female has to give birth to babies who are strong enough to survive in the future, always remember, the earth does not belong to you, me, poor, rich. The earth belongs to the future. That is the only thing earth belongs to. And we are here as bridges who are entrusted by the nature to take the genes over this time period of our lifetime safely and give it to the next generation. There is no such thing called successful, there is no such thing called victories. All of the life becomes meaningless if you do not understand the very basic principle that the Y chromosome has lost over 90% of its genetic traits, and hardly 3 to 10% of the original genes exist in the Y chromosome set that makes males. And if not taken care of, if you do not become accountable and responsible, then the Y chromosome is going to be evaporated. It's a serious and critical situation. It's not something where you are focusing on economy, you are talking about all the other facts. Those are fine. But the key problem is that the Y chromosome is on the verge of the extinction, which is not giving good signal to the race, because see, no species wants to get extinct, and therefore you'll see more and more turmoil. So if you are born as a male, your first responsibility is to understand this dynamics. That you're born to take your genes safely through this passage of time to the next generation, unlocking as much of genes as possible and give that to your next generation. And because that next generation gene has to be mothered by a female, and because the female doesn't have her consciousness lying on the prefrontal cortex, that it is the stable consciousness, and because her consciousness would be always feelings driven, it is then the accountability of you man to understand this accountability, to prepare the females, to teach them, to calm them, and to make them great mothers. Understand, every human born, or at least majority of the humans born, are capable of reproduction. However, only a very small percentage is capable of becoming good father and good mother, because just like excellence in the music industry or excellence in music, for example, it takes years, decades. Excellence in any sports, for example, football. Messi has not become Messi just by a day. It- It's over 10 years of at least effort to reach to a state of excellency. And therefore, nobody in the modern time invests 10 years to prepare themselves before they have the child, don't they? In the modern time, people think that once they become parents, they will learn parenting. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. You, even if you enter into a tennis ground with a racket and think that you will learn tennis someday, it doesn't happen. Alright? If you learn the game of chess and sit with good chess players, and if you think that you will become good in chess just by preparation, it doesn't happen that way. You have to learn a lot of theory. You have to go through a lot of process of failures. You have to struggle. You have to remain hungry. You have to put yourself into the miserable situations, and then your brain starts unlocking itself. Because the harder challenge of survival you give it to the brain, the more genetic genes are unlocked by the brain. You cannot unlock the genes of the brain by going to college, by attending the classroom. It doesn't happen. Just by reading about the volcano does not activate your genes that fights with the volcano. You in fact have to experience the volcano. Just by reading desert in the geography class doesn't make you aware of the dangers in a desert. You have to be actually in a desert to experience the thirst and your mirage of water and survival difficulty for your brain to unlock those genes which have survived in the desert in the past. So again, summarizing, because the human race is at a very severe risk of extinction, just like 98% of the other human species which have got extincted from the planet Earth. Number one. Number two, the Y chromosome has lost almost 90% of the genes of its original genetic traits. Therefore, the man or the masculinity is under a tremendous survival threat. It is under tremendous extinction threat. Number three, when you are born, you have a responsibility of taking the genes to the next generation. A female would harness that gene, would produce the next generation, but she is just an incubator for those genes which are to come from you, and therefore you have to unlock those genes. All right. So the next thing is, so number one, human race under threat. Number two, Y chromosome under threat. Number three, only a man can unlock superconsciousness, the female cannot. Number four, just by reproducing, you cannot become parents. Even become a good parent takes 10 years of effort, 10 years of conscious effort to grow yourself, to learn the things. And so therefore, knowledge becomes very, very fundamental. Because if you do not acquire knowledge, then obviously you are going to get extinct. So, knowledge is something that a man has to give it to a female. Let me repeat. The knowledge is something that a man has to give to a female. Let me repeat. Knowledge. A man has to give knowledge to a female. Let me now explain the science of this. What is knowledge? Knowledge is when our brain, number one, what is knowledge? When our brain learns. How our brain learns? When our brain receives. What our brain receives? Our brain receives the meaning of how something works, or why something works, or why something should be done, how to do, when to do, where to do. So, knowledge for the brain is essentially answer to fundamental questions such as why, where, who, when, what, and like that. So this fundamental question, why something exists, why something should exist, when something exists, how long something exists, what is that something, how to work with that something, what is the role of that something, what happens if that something doesn't exist. So there are 20 such fundamental principles associated with anything. A brain tries to find answer to those. And when you get the answer to those fundamental questions about anything, then that itself is learning. Let me repeat, what is learning? When brain gets the answer of fundamental questions associated with an object or any reality, any experience, then it is called learning. Let me give you an example. Even though this class was supposed to be about learning, teaching, training, we started with genes. And we explained you why human race exists and why you should be learning this intimacy, you should be learning the principles. What is the role that you are playing on this planet? What is expected out of you? So your brain gets a fundamental answer. Even though I did not say the class is about giving you answer to why the life is, but you still know at certain level today that you have a great accountability. It's not that you are not born just to earn few $1,000,000 and satisfy people. You are born here to take this species forward for next 100 years. This is a great responsibility. You are going to have to become the forefather who has to take these genes which are under the verge of extinction. You have to do something about it. You have to ask yourself, am I not going to be the man who is going to be responsible for the survival of the species, or am I going to be the man who just leaves, watches movie and dies? Nobody cares. No. You have to ask yourself that question. And so you got a fundamental answer to some question, that is learning. Okay. So the initial talk that I gave at the beginning of this class is your learning. You got, as a man, you got your answer as why you should learn, why you should acquire knowledge. I have not yet defined knowledge. Why you should learn. So what is learning? Getting the answer of fundamental questions associated with anything, not being, anything is learning. Right? So, in order to learn, you need to have those questions at the first place. Everybody, a lot of you are watching this video, but not everybody has asked the questions to himself. Why do I exist? Who am I? What is my responsibility? Why, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just live like another animal and die? But few of Few of you have asked that questions. Who am I? What is my responsibility? Why I exist? It's not normal. My existence itself is absurd, but then why I exist? And those of you who have asked this question to yourself have at least got one dimension of the answer. The genetic answer, the answer in the genetic dimension, that you exist as a bridge who is supposed to take the human race forward for the next 100 years. It's a very strong reason to exist. Because if all the 3.5 billion men, none of the 3.5 billion men ask these questions today and understands why they exist, then the human race doesn't exist even after 100 years. Come on. If the race itself doesn't exist after 100 years, what is the point of industrialization? What is the point of talking about AI and all? There is no point, right? So, few people out of this 3.5 billion of male population has to ask this question. And then, when this answer comes, not that all of them will learn from this answer, but few of them who have lived their life in the pursuit of truth, few of you who have lived your life in the pursuit of truth, in discovering who are you, after getting to know that you have such a major responsibility to safeguard the almost getting extinct Y chromosome, then your life is not going to be the same after the end of this class. You'd have a different set of emotions, different set of powers. You don't know me. Probably none of you have ever met me. However, you search about me. You try to find more about me. You try to discover about me. You try to get connected with me emotionally. And this what? That you exist to take the genes forward will start making more sense over a period of time, because that will go into your brain. You have not learned it. That has gone into your brain. And then you will slowly start validating that and then realize how true that was. Coming back again. So, learning is getting answers to the fundamental questions. For that, you must have to have the fundamental questions at the first place. If you are not, there is a sports called cricket which is very popular in India. So player hits, and I'm pretty sure in US you have a sports which is baseball. One hits and one has to catch. So if you do not keep your hands like this, even if the ball goes high, you are not going to catch it, right? Think, if the ball drops, you cannot catch that ball, can you? Can you? No. You are not ready to catch the ball, so you will not catch the ball. So same way, when your eyes, ear, nose, they are receiving the signals. If you are not waiting for just a ball and you know how that ball looks like, then your brain cannot extract the answer. So those of you who have never asked why you exist and who have really not struggled in life to find the answer of that questions will find the answer of we exist to take the gene forward. Really absurd. You'd not believe it. You'd be very, very, you'd laugh at me at best. You'd scroll out the video. So you did not learn. The reason is because you did not seek the answer. So for learning, we have to first prepare ourselves. For catching, we have to prepare ourselves. That is the reason. You cannot learn from everyone. But you cannot go and catch a cricket ball in the football ground, can you? You have to know what is the size of the ball, what is it that you want to learn, what is it that you want to catch, where you would be catching, under which situation. You are not going to, as a fielder, stand looking at the sky all the time, right? When the bowler starts taking his run up, then as a fielder, you become ready to catch. Once the batsman had taken a shot, the ball is going, you are still not going to be waiting for the catch. So, you have to know what questions answer you are seeking. You have to become very intimate with those questions, which means that those questions must harass you. Those questions must make you really, really, really worried. Those questions must be very hurtful for you. And then you must start seeking the answer. You must question why, what, when, who, where. And you would not discover the answer in a day. One question would require several months or perhaps several years or even decades to get an answer. Because you will learn step by step, because your brain, a 5-year-old kid cannot catch a cricket ball in the adult match. It's very difficult. So the same way, when you start learning, you're not going to catch just any knowledge from anyone, can you? A small child cannot learn the quantum physics, irrespective of how good a teacher is. He's going to learn slowly. So, learning is getting answers of the fundamental questions about anything. And those fundamental questions must be alive in the brain. This is your fundamental question. They must be alive in the brain, for the brain to catch the answers. And your brain cannot always stand in this fashion waiting for the answer to come. Your brain has to know where it will get answers, from whom it will get answers, and in what form it is going to get answers. You have to know how big is cricket ball, because if the cricket ball is this big and if your catching size is like this, it is going to break your fingers. And if the cricket ball is this smaller, if you are holding your catching position like this is going to straight away pass through the hands, right? So the brain is a muscle, hand is a muscle. Think of it as a cricket ball catching or football ball catching. A goalkeeper, while catches the ball, he catches the ball in the soccer. In US you call it soccer. He catches the ball in this fashion, right? So there is a movement, muscle movement. The goalkeeper is waiting for the ball. As the ball comes, he holds it. So the goalkeeper doesn't stand in this fashion. Football is different. So he has to come in. So when you take the cricket catch, your hands are like this, or like this, or your hands are like this, and you catch. And always there is a reverse movement when you catch. Even in baseball, when you catch, there is a reverse movement. In football, when the goalkeeper catches, there is a reverse movement. So goalkeeper is not going to go to the grocery shop and are going to say, throw me the piece of tomato, I'm going to catch it. Really? No. So, you have to first know what you want to learn. Then you have to know why you want to learn. You would not be interested, your brain is not interested to learn each and everything, right? Because there are infinite number of objects. So you have to know why you are learning this. And then you have to start exploring different fields where you'll be getting this answer. And then slowly your brain will start comprehending what is the type of answer, who is giving the answer, and will create this muscle movement where when that information comes, it will be caught by the brain. So learning is answers to the fundamental questions about anything. Number two, those fundamental questions should stay in the brain. To start with, for brain to seek its answers, so brain has to first seek the answers in order for it to learn. Number three, the most fundamental reason that your brain exists is to keep you alive. Let me repeat. The most fundamental reasons that your brain exists is to keep you alive. And the most fundamental reason for your brain to keep you alive is because your genes are to be taken by you to the next generation. Number three, and the reason that you are the one who is supposed to take the genes to the next generation. It is your responsibility to unlock as many genetic genes of the chromosomes as possible. We know that we are born with all the genes, but they are turned off, they are locked. Chromosomes have a large pair of genes, but they are locked because the more software in a computer, a gene is like the software program. The more software program you open, for example, you open Google Chrome and you open different websites. Obviously, in the task manager, you will see that the memory has come down, right? So the same way, the more number of programs, a gene is nothing but a program that helps you do something. So if you open thousands of programs in your computer screen, the computer will not work. In your mobile, if you open too many apps, the app starts getting slower. So before playing the game, generally you force stop all the apps. It's like that. So you're born with your mobile phone has all the apps, but not all the apps you are using at the same time. And also not all the apps you use frequently. Probably if you are following this class and if you are interested in this class, you are using YouTube at a specific time, right? So you are using your mobile's YouTube gene is being used more and more and for a purpose. The same way, in order for you to learn, your brain has to seek answers to the fundamental questions. The only time the brain is going to be interested in those questions is when that helps the brain to find more meaning, because meaning is a fundamental reason for brain to exist. Brain wants to make you survive for the purpose that you are going to take those genes to the next generation in order to save the human race. So that's the purpose of the brain. Now, unless and until you have a survival threat, the problem is brain doesn't care about learning. See, brain wants to learn only when there is a survival threat. You start reading about the economy only when you start hearing the news about an economic collapse. You start learning about the health whenever there is a pandemic. Don't you? You start learning about the agriculture whenever there is a famine and the prices of the prices of all the green vegetables and grains, they skyrocket. You want to learn agriculture. You start learning about water. If there is a drought in your area, don't you? So brain is not interested to learn. It doesn't learn. It is not interested to learn unless and until it has a survival threat. That is number one. Number two, brain doesn't care about a survival threat if your genes are not good, and your genes are obviously not good when you have not unlocked too many genes and linked them together. So you may be having YouTube, you may be having some banking apps, you may be having some office apps, you may be having several different sorts of apps. You may also have apps like different games. But if your brain doesn't know what is the relationship between an office app and say YouTube, if your brain doesn't know, why should there be a game app, for instance? Then your brain cannot function well. So your brain you will try to reduce the use of those apps which are not beneficial. They're there, they're installed, but you're not going to use them. Sometimes while cleaning the space, you'll clean those also. So the same process happens within the human body also. So you are going to use only those apps which really does help you in one way or the other. Maybe gaming app which gives you some fun, some kick. Maybe YouTube for some learning. I don't know. So, but you'd be using some apps more than the other. And so, in the same way, what you are trying to do is with your mobile, you are trying to solve your problem. Yes, a lot of people comes to use the mobile for pretty unnecessary purpose, but I'm pretty sure as you are watching almost 40 minutes of this video, you are not the one who are going to waste your time scrolling social media irresponsibly. So I strongly believe that because you have taken the pain to watch this video up to 40 minutes, you're definitely not the one who is going to waste the time. And therefore, you have to understand that the reason the brain cares about your survival is when your genes are good. And the reason when your genes are good are, are when you have unlocked them. So the more struggle you do, more genes are unlocked. The more genes are unlocked, the brain values you higher. It's a paradox. Man doesn't seek a comfortable life because females are born, X chromosomes have 98%, 95% of the genes of the base gene carrying from almost 10 million years. So they want comfort because they have nothing to turn on. But males, they're born with very little masculine genes, turn on. The ovary vaginal system of the female gets active almost after the age of 5, even before puberty, but male penis doesn't get erected up to the age of 12 or 15. So males are born with more feminine traits because males are XY chromosome. The Y is smaller, the X is much bigger. So a male is essentially his mother's fresh body with a penis. There is no discrimination here, it's biology. A male is his mother's fresh body with a penis. So a male has to unlock the Y chromosome so that his mother starts getting smaller in his code. It is like this. This is the man and this is the female that a man is born with, and then slowly this should be his life's process for him to become a man. And this process is unlocking the Y chromosome. When the Y chromosome genes are unlocked, of course, when you have famine, those genes that helps you fight with famine gets unlocked. When you have a drought, genes that helps you fight with drought gets unlocked. When you have a flood, genes that deals with flood gets unlocked. When you are in a Alps, for example, struggling to survive in ice, your brain turns on the internal heating mechanism, the genes that keeps your body warmer, and so more genes gets active. And just by installing 100 apps, your problem is not solved. If you know which app to use when, which is the benefit you are getting from one app and what is the benefit you are getting from other app and how to combine them to create something which makes your life easy, then your mobile device becomes productive to you. That's the reason for most of the people the mobile device or the laptop is a useless device because they have a lot of software program. They have learned that they got to have internet browser. I don't know. They got to have YouTube, but they don't know what is to be done with that. They don't know what needs to be done with that. So having multiple jinn is not enough. If you go to Saudi Arabia, stay for 2 years, unlock your desert genes, then go to Switzerland, stay there for 2 years, unlock your cold genes, that doesn't solve any problem. Brain has to find a meaning. Why am I going to work so hard to turn on your desert gene at the first place? The brain has to have the answer. Why you are making me to work in this ice cold situation? Take me to some comfortable situation. Brain needs that answer. And then brain starts looking for the answer. Then it asks the fundamental question. Why you have brought me to this desert? What is the purpose? Why can't you just take a bus or take a flight, go to some other places where there is plenty of water, greenery? Why you are keeping me here? Why desert? Why I have to stay in desert? So that time you start learning because your brain wants the answer. So learning is getting fundamental answers to fundamental questions. For fundamental questions to exist at the first place, the brain has to have a survival threat. When the brain has a survival threat or when the brain is put under tremendous amount of pressure, then brain starts asking questions. For example, at the beginning of the marriage, you have never learned about the relationship, right? If you are married, you thought that you are going to go married. You are going to marry, life is going to be smoother. But you start thinking about relationship only when you start struggling, when there are conflicts every day. And there is a lot of interpersonal conflict, when you are not getting any love. That's when your brain is struggling and your brain tries to look for the answer. And that is the reason you are trying to learn something out of me, something from me, something with me, because you are struggling in your life. If you were not struggling in your life, you cannot watch this video under any situation up to 50 minutes. Understand? If you were not really struggling in life, you would not be able to watch this video up to 50 minutes. Just because you are struggling in life, you cannot watch this video up to 15 minutes either, can you? There are many sources from which your brain can learn. Multiple sources, books, there are online resources, there are, I don't know, schools, teachers, mentors, many people. But you are learning, you are staying in this video up to this moment. If you are, then you are doing that for emotions. Because you brain is able to connect to my energy. Your brain is in the reception mode, receiving from me. Otherwise, it will not care. It will not allow you to step to this point. Now I bring it to you another theory that I have been discussing and I have been bringing in most of the episodes. That there is nothing called a free will. There is something called a readiness potential. Much before you are aware that you are moving your hand like this, your brain has generated a readiness potential. So you are anyways going to move your hand. This is not in your control. All you can do is when your brain wants you to move your hand, you can stop that movement. No, my brain wants me to move the hand. It is not good, but I'm stopping this. So whenever you connect with me emotionally, if you try to scroll or if you try to come out of the video, your brain will stop you. Don't. I'm learning. Your brain will stop you. Don't. I'm learning. Which means your brain, and you can open any number of videos which are 1 hour, 15 minutes, but your brain would want to come back to my classes every day if it has attended 2 or 3 videos, because brain not only is seeking the answers to the questions, but it wants emotion, it wants right energy. The brain wave moves like this. Not everybody can make the brain slow and bring it into the receptive mode. The brain has a frequency, has an operating frequency. For somebody it is like this, for somebody it is like this, for somebody it is very slow. The brain has to have that reception energy, and for which brain is looking for that positive energy which it can submit. That's why the master slave dynamic, 2 classes I have taken. You must check those out, and I'm not going to give the link of the video. I'm not going to turn your brain into a lazy brain. You must search them. Use the search option, master slave dynamics, in this playlist in my channel, and you will get your answers. So, if your brain really seeks the answer, you will find it. If your brain is not seeking the answer, irrespective of what I give, you will not take it. And therefore, your brain is not only seeking the answer, but it can only receive the right ball. So, it can only receive from the one with the right energy. Then the brain lowers its energy, slows down the body. And if you play this video, if you really are watching up to this point, before your sleep, if you play this video, you'll fall asleep. You'll fall asleep. It's not a miracle. A lot of your sleep problems will be gone by watching this video, because your brain is in the receptive mode. As your brain keeps taking, it is going to go slower, and thus your body will be put under the sleep. So, brain seeks answers to fundamental questions only when there is a survival threat or brain is made to work so hard that it cannot tolerate. Survival threat. Number 2, brain the different types of threat you put the brain under, the more genes are unlocked. But randomly putting the brain under different threat condition doesn't unlock the genes. So if you are mountaineering and then you are playing, then you want to drive a Formula 3 car, fast car, then you want to jump from the very top. For example, all the different types of adventure sports, your brain still doesn't make any sense because it doesn't know why you are putting it into different type of threat condition. Your brain doesn't know why you are taking it into desert and why you are taking it into the Iceland, for example. So then brain tries to look for the meaning, right? Why you are doing with the brain what you are doing with the brain. Then number 4, because brain is overworking under the survival threat, as I've said, you would not watch this video if you are not struggling with your relationship. So when you are struggling with your relationship, your brain is already busy solving that problem. You are exhausted. At that time, brain is not looking for information. The first thing it is looking for is peace, comfort, to energy that it can submit, it can slow down, it can receive. Do you understand how complex the whole process of learning is? And people say learning classes, demo classes, keep learning. You have to be really, those people are lazy brains who keeps telling all these things to the others. Learn. Learning is life. Always read a book. One book a year is the difference between a successful and unsuccessful. They don't even know the definition of success. So coming back. So learning requires brain to struggle. Second, brain needs a reason why you are struggling. Number 3, because the struggle puts the body in the sympathetic mode where we cannot learn, it is under stress. Number 4, first thing is when the body is under stress, then only it is trying to learn. But because under the stress, brain cannot receive anything, it needs first the emotion for those sympathetic system to be minimized in order to become in the reception mode. So therefore, brain seeks that person who can give it the. So whenever you are reading the book, you are basically getting that emotion from the author. Whenever you are watching this video, you are getting that emotion from me. So the more emotions an author has put into his book, the more your brain is going to seek to read that book. The more emotion you get from these classes, you would want to be attending those classes of those teachers. So it is the emotion that is the first need of the brain when it is seeking the answers. Once it gets the answer, few of the answers, then it starts seeking the answer from various other sources. Then it starts learning. It has little bit of comfort. The more you learn from me, slowly, your brain will stop feeling anxious. Its frequency is going to come down. And with that frequency, you become more receptive. Then you can learn from other sources, books, material, other experts. You can learn in that way. And when you are learning from the other sources, your brain interlinks them. And when your brain understands, get the answer more or less for those problems, your brain then decides how to come out of the problem. So life is not about solving problem, it is about living, because your brain is solving the problem and you are not aware of that, because that is the reason it exists, and that's a completely different level. So after brain has learned, so brain discovers from whom it has to learn, then it tunes its energy and emotions, then learns, then it becomes more receptive. We call this neuroplasticity. With dopamine, neuroplasticity increases, and that's why if you are depressed, if you are down, after watching these videos you will feel good. I'm not a spiritual guru, by the way. This is the science. Because you are in the reception mode, you will feel good. So now what happens is, once you start learning from the other sources, your brain will become very stable. It will not be worried about that situation. It will be confident that I will get out of this situation. And as the brain is struggling, it will then start observing and measuring. Okay, I knew that not from everybody I can learn, right? Now let me try to first figure out those mentors from which I'll be learning. Your brain will try to figure out that. And then your brain will try to observe and measure. Is it the same way? And then when it gets the validation, yeah, right, whatever Rupam said is true. I'm learning from this person, this other mentor, much more better than this person. I'm not able to emotionally connect to this person, right? This Rupam has said, right, just go back to Rupam and listen. Then now your brain is going to ask you to just look for an answer. That is, then your mentor or virtual mentor or the teacher becomes your primary source. So you'll come to this channel and again search, okay, what is energy? You'll search for the energy. Your brain will have the primary source. It will do the experiments. It's not going to trust me over a period of time. Whenever your brain says, yeah, man, I don't have to do the experiments. This man has done all his experiments and he is giving the wisdom, so let me just follow it. Then you become a follower. Then you become followers. And when you become followers, you learn. So follower is not an abundant term. When you are following, you just cannot follow blindly. It goes through a process of trust. That trust takes maybe months, days, years. After which you become a follower, which means that in any interaction, your brain goes into the reception mode. Your brain is in reception mode. Just by opening a social network, seeing one post, you cannot become anybody's follower. Alright. Just because somebody has told you God is like that, you cannot become follower. You cannot become follower of a leader. You cannot become follower of a guru. You cannot. It takes time for your brain to convince itself, okay, this person, whatever he has said, I've tested, I have other sources, my life has gotten simple. And for example, I've never met Robert Greene, but in my most difficult days, in 1998, his book 48 Laws of Power had come, and I consider myself to be a mentee of Robert Greene because he has given a lot of emotions to the book and I have consumed those emotions. So even though Robert Greene has never seen me, I have never seen Robert Greene, we have never met, but still he is my mentor. I am his follower, blind follower. You can say blindfolded because over a period of 10 years, a lot of the things that he has written, I've tested, tried, used in my life, so and so forth. So after you become struggler, then you become a a stressful person. When you become a struggler, you become a stressful person. When you become a stressful person, you become seeker of comfort. Then at the next stage, you then find out somebody who gives you emotion through knowledge. Then you become a receiver. Then you start learning the answers of your questions from this person. Then, as you start learning, your brain gets stabilized. It is no more fluctuating, it is confident. It tests and experiments. Then, you become a learner. Once you become a learner, at that point, you already know what are the sources which are right and wrong for you to learn, from whom you can learn and not learn. Your brain has automated this process completely. At that moment, you are just not learning from me, you are learning from multiple sources. So, at that stage, the brain unlocks every possible way it can learn, but it knows from whom to learn and whom not to learn. So, struggler, stressful, emotion seeker, then listener, then learner. Learn .NET in 7 days. Learn data science in 7 days. Come on, come on. There got to be a limit of killing the human race. There got to be a killing of stupidity and selling the stupidity, right? Learn 7 days. In 7 days, you cannot even become a good stressful person. Your body will handle the stress. Your brain will not have the survival threat. That itself is going to take about 6 to 9 months. Whom you are fooling? Why you are fooling people? What are you going to get out of this? Nothing. So, you become struggler, stressful, seeker of the emotion, seeker of primary knowledge, primary things, fundamentals, very basic. Then the person from whom your brain gets it, you become emotionally attached. After becoming emotionally attached, you become a good listener. After becoming a good listener, your brain wave slows down. Then you become a learner. Your brain develops the ability to know what it needs, doesn't need. It seeks the answer from various other sources. Here, all the other sources are concentrated around one point, and this point is the mentor, virtual, real, whatever is the mentor around which these learnings are being surrounded. Then you become a learner. When you become a learner, you learn up to certain stage, then you'd not be able to connect to the same mentor in the way that you connected 10 months back. For example, if you are watching these videos and then you go on to read my book, of course, by the end of the book, you are not going to connect to me the way that you are connecting to me at this moment. That is why when the females reaches at the pinnacle of their career, they get disconnected from their coach. So simple. And because it is the onus is on you to take the human genes forward, you have to understand. You have an accountability. Females cannot do that. You have to learn. And the females have to always become emotionally dependent on you for knowledge. Let me repeat. Your girl, your female has to be emotionally dependent on you for the knowledge. And there is no need for the knowledge. The relationship doesn't exist. When there is no struggle, there is no need for the knowledge. When some web series answers the questions of the life, then you are not content. Don't go to online forums and claim that females have become gold diggers. Don't do that. You're making a mockery of yourself. You are the one who has to give the knowledge, and they are the one who has to seek the knowledge. If they are not seeking, how can you give? Because you know that acquiring that knowledge is pretty hard. Acquiring money is very simple. Become genetically wealthy is super hard. There is no luck involved. It's a super hard thing. Becomes genetically wealthy is a super hard thing. Becomes financially wealthy is easy. So, that's the reason most modern day males they create a scenario where females desire only money. But the problem is they still carry 95% of the base gene, and females are seeking for the genetically wealthy man. Females are looking for genetically wealthy man. Genetically wealthy men are looking for physically and emotionally stable females because both of them are being selected by the nature and brought to this planet at this moment of time to take the human race forward. Remember, if you are not beneficial for the race, your brain doesn't care about you, and so you suffer. This is our first part of learning. Today, we spend time just to understand why should one should learn when one starts learning, from whom one starts learning, what is the emotional concept dependent upon that, and of course by for now you know why should you have the knowledge and answers to the life, because if you don't, the females don't care about you. And if a female is looking for the answers in the book, as some of those 7 days data science learn, the word learn 7 days data science have taught, then you are waiting for, then the females will get very aggressive and they will, you are going to suffer. So thank you so much for your time, emotion, and I know with all the struggles that you have in life, how hard it is to invest this time. I understand that. I can feel that. And I really appreciate, I really encourage you to continue to learn. Don't look for here and there at the beginning. Then once you start getting stable, then start exploring other things to learn from. Don't just limit yourself to me. If you have somehow, but you should have one mentor in your mind and from whom you should learn the same way. Girls should have only one mentor in their life. If that mentor is gone, the life will be broken. because brain organizes itself around that mint. All right. So thank you so much, and yeah, this book is available. You'll be pretty surprised. There is a lot of history, emotions, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to create a value. Intimacy loss for men, birth of the Lugal. This is strictly not for the girls. So this book is available in our website lifers.com. I'll be putting a link in the description below. Also, because of the fact that you are already struggling in life, you've already in the site, if you are in India, you get it almost 30% lesser cost from Amazon, because whatever money we save, we give back to you. We're not really a very high profit making company and don't want to be. And so if you are outside India, you can please get it from Amazon, because the shipment cost from India to your country, for example, Germany, is 2,500 rupees. That's about $30. That's about 30 to 40 $30 at this moment. So that's going to be quite costly. Basic cost from Amazon in your country would be around $8. So, or in euros, I do not know. So you can avail it from your country. You can also get the book from Kindle, Amazon Kindle. However, I always suggest you that you go for a printed copy of the book if you want. Also, as far as the learning is concerned, I'm also going to leave a link to a self-assessment test of whether you are a good listener or not. Because again, you know that you cannot listen well from everyone. So you now know when you become a good listener, you have the idea. I'm pretty sure that you will be making notes of this class for your reference, because if you're not writing, that will not be of much use at the later time. So do write, please. Do have the book. Get more emotions. This book gives you a lot of emotion. I try to give all my emotions to you, because I have suffered in my life, and whatever emotions I've got in those sufferings, I want you to take those emotions and have a peaceful struggle, very proud struggle. And thank you so much for your time again. Have a great day. See you tomorrow with the continuation of this episode of learning. Today you learned, and just recall how you learned, what you learned. There are some fascinating factors I've given. Just enjoy them, write them. Have a great day. Thank you.